The snow fell in thick sheets across the Chicago ruins, remnants of the Third Contact War still smoking in the distance. Alexander Hayes pulled his coat tighter around his daughter Sophie as they navigated the debris-strewn street. 8 years old, and she'd already seen more destruction than any child should. Sophie pointed toward an alley, where a figure huddled against a collapsed storefront. Alexander's military instincts kicked in immediately. Blue-tinted skin, four-fingered hands, a Calrix, one of the alien species that had participated in the assault on Earth. His jaw tightened. Every fiber of his being screamed to keep walking, to protect Sophie from any potential threat. But then he saw the figure shiver violently, saw the way it was definitely female. Respiratory slits fluttered with labored breathing. She wasn't wearing any thermal gear, just torn clothing that offered no protection against the sub-zero temperatures. "Dad, she's freezing," Sophie whispered, her small hand gripping his. Alexander's internal war lasted only seconds. He'd spent 6 years fighting aliens, but he'd also spent 6 years fighting for humanity's values. And those values meant something, even now. "Stay behind me," he ordered Sophie, approaching cautiously. The Calrix woman looked up, her large violet eyes widening with fear. She tried to scramble back but collapsed, too weak to run. Alexander could see the crystalline ice forming on her skin, a death sentence for her species. "I'm not going to hurt you," Alexander said slowly, hands visible. A small nod. Her translator implant still worked then. "We have shelter, food, warmth." The alien, Anna, as she would later tell them her name was, stared at him with disbelief. Why would a human help her? Her people had helped rain fire on this world, but hypothermia left no room for pride. She nodded again. That had been 3 years ago. Alexander stood in his small apartment's kitchen now, watching Anna teach Sophie advanced mathematics at their salvaged dining table. The Calrix woman had changed dramatically since that frozen night. Her skin had regained its healthy azure sheen, and she'd gained weight. More importantly, the hunted look in her eyes had faded, replaced by something Alexander never expected to see: belonging. "The quantum differential here creates a cascade effect," Anna explained patiently, her translator converting her native tongue to English. Sophie's eyes lit up with understanding. "Oh!" Anna's face crinkled in what Alexander had learned was her species' equivalent of a smile. "Exactly." Alexander cleared his throat. Concern flashed across her features as she followed him to the small living room. 3 years, and she still sometimes expected him to tell her to leave. "The Integration Council contacted me," Alexander began. "They're looking for Calrix civilians willing to testify about the war crimes committed by the Dominion leadership." Anna's hands trembled. "What?" Alexander grabbed her shoulders gently. "Anna, your family. Sophie loves you. He paused, carefully choosing his words. "I trust you. But I also know you carry guilt about what happened. This could help you find peace." Tears formed in Anna's violet eyes, a response her species shared with humans. He'd never asked, respecting her privacy. Now he simply waited. "I was a navigator on the warship Sovereign Blade. When I realized we were targeting civilian centers," I objected. Her voice broke. "I have done terrible things by association, Alexander. I guided that ship for 2 years before I understood what we were truly doing. How can I ever—" "By helping now," Alexander interrupted firmly. "Anna, humanity isn't about never making mistakes. It's about what you do after. You think I don't carry ghosts? I've killed. I've followed orders I regret." As if summoned, Sophie appeared in the doorway. "Anna, are you crying?" Despite her tears, Anna laughed, a crystalline sound like wind chimes. Sophie ran over and hugged her waist. I won't let you leave, Sophie declared fiercely. You're my Anna. Anna looked at Alexander over Sophie's head, and he saw the question in her eyes. He nodded. If you testify, we go with you. We're a family. 6 months later, Alexander stood in the gallery of the Integration Council chambers, Sophie beside him. Below, Anna testified with quiet dignity about the Dominion's war crimes, about the dissenters who'd been silenced, about the Calrix civilians who'd opposed the war but been powerless to stop it. Her testimony was broadcast across both human and Calrix networks. It wouldn't erase the past, but it was a bridge, proof that former enemies could become family, that healing was possible. When Anna finished, the human delegates began a slow clap that spread through the chamber. Even some Calrix representatives joined in, those brave enough to acknowledge their species' crimes. That evening, in their apartment, Anna made her crystal cakes, while Sophie chattered about starting advanced placement courses. Alexander watched them, his unlikely family, and thought about that frozen night 3 years ago. Sophie had been right. Anna was freezing, not just from the cold, but from isolation, guilt, and fear. But they'd warmed her, and in turn, she'd taught them that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in weapons or warfare. It was in the choice to extend a hand instead of a fist, to offer shelter instead of judgment. Dad, you're getting mushy again, Sophie teased, catching his expression. Anna turned from the counter, her violet eyes warm. Let him be mushy. Humans are very good at emotions. Alexander raised an eyebrow. Yes, Anna said, her face crinkling in that smile he'd come to love. Your stubbornness is also quite impressive, and your strange obsession with coffee, and... Sophie's giggle interrupted her as Alexander theatrically chased Anna around the kitchen. In that moment, in that small apartment in a still-recovering Chicago, 3 souls who'd found each other in the aftermath of war created something the galaxy desperately needed: hope and family.